I just recently did a teacher conference in Springfield. Our family and consumer science teachers gather every July and meet to just get new ideas, inventive ideas. I've spoken at their conference several times, but this year I wanted them to know what I'm working on because we know that only about 10% of the student population actually takes parenting or child development wherever it's offered.
I think child development education is really important for my students because so many of them don't have good role models on how children should be interacted with and how they should be raised.
And so teaching them what it looks like to be a quality parent, to have that interaction, that emotional part, the different types of parenting style, those are things that they've never heard of before.
Our educators are frontline, and these classes that we focus on are classes that are really a lot of dialogue. They do have textbooks and the students are still required to read chapters and they get lectures and they take tests. But when you're talking about family dynamics, there's just a lot of discussion, more so say than in a science class or a math class.
I use Code 24 curriculum in my classroom to start a conversation about the hard topics of parenting. Abuse and neglect are uncomfortable, and you don't like to think that people go through those situations, but kids need to hear about it and they need to talk about it.
One day after going over our shaken baby syndrome materials with Code 24, I had a student ask me, "Mrs. Gutschel, why is this not required?" She was like, "Everyone needs to take this class." And so just giving the kids those skills, opening them up to new ideas is so important.
When we started this out, this was all about child development and parenting and reducing child abuse and neglect. But now we know that family dysfunction, the generational family dysfunction or cycle of it, impacts things like crime and mental health and imprisonment, domestic violence, poverty, homelessness, and addictions. In fact, we know that more than 70% of all the people in those groups came from a dysfunctional family. And the leaders of the family are the parents. So the root of all of those problems is parenting. And so we're trying to get to the root of the problem and create healthier parents, not point fingers at parents that are today, not say that what the government's doing now isn't good. I mean, they have to deal with the problems that exist. We're saying that while we're doing that, we can get out in front of this and be reaching our future pool of parents. That's what we're trying to do.
My life growing up was definitely not what you would expect like a happy childhood to be. My mom was mentally ill for most of my childhood.
There were some conversations that were not healthy, between my dad and I.
I never really expected my mother to be around because she was never really around. So even when she was around, she wasn't around, she was drunk.
He had gotten a gun from his uncle that I had never seen, and he pulled out the gun and put it to my head.
And then she walked down the hallway, and you could hear her just stomping down the hallway and cussing the entire time.
He put his hands around my neck and he choked me. And what I remember were the kids screaming and my oldest daughter grabbing her toddler, and then the other two kids running behind her up the stairs.
Then I knew what was going to happen. I knew she was going to beat me. And then she'd have a belt or a switch or something, and she would just beat. And then you could just hear her cussing at me the entire time.
He sat on top of me, and with one hand around my neck, he used his other hand to push my face into the mattress. I blacked out, and I could feel the life leaving my body. And I just thought about my kids, because I was like, I'm gonna die right now. And I really thought I was.